Hi guys, so for our last project, we'll be going over the development and implementation strategy. It will cover the overview, organization, security, and significant tasks of the bike sharing system. So the overview and purpose of the bike system is, really bike systems have an environmental impact. They offer a transportation solution, decreasing the amount of traffic and cars on roads. And then it also, for the community, offers a healthier, active lifestyle. The goal at the end of the day is allow for this system is to allow a seamless rentals of the bikes throughout the community. I really compared it to the Bird system of Kansas City. I really liked their system because you don't necessarily need a docking station. They're available everywhere throughout Kansas City, and they're just kind of available. You can also see where they're located based off of the application on their phones. And something else I thought was interesting is they have a charging program where you can get paid to charge the batteries for them. You can see it on their app. So it's another good way to, give back to the community in multiple ways. KansasCity.org has a lot of good information about what they're doing with that system and what the intent is there. So next, looking at the system architecture, I chose a distributed and centralized system. This would allow for each of the bikes to have their own storage system, and then as well as there's a central cloud where everything is backed up into. When you're looking at the physical hardware, I did add a bike sharing station. That way, it was another alternative to rent the bike as well as have a touch screen and have the main access point for Wi-Fi using the cables and Wi-Fi modems. On the bikes themselves, I chose to use a USB Wi-Fi, allowing them to give Wi-Fi, allowing Wi-Fi to be accessible on the bikes for users. That way they can access the application no matter what their service is and be able to use the features inside of there. The QR code on the bike is what allows the customer to access it through their registered account. And then the docking station obviously would have, since being outdoors, it would have to be something that's very weather resistant. And I chose a touch screen. That way it's easier to manage as well and to waterproof. And then for the managers that run this, they would use mobile devices, and obviously it could be done remotely. And then the main user point is for the end user is through their mobile devices or cell phones, really to register and to find bikes and rent. Some of the other features that you could offer would be you could see what events are going on, traffic, maybe areas to avoid where there might be construction going on, are features that could be inside the application as well. So next, looking at our infrastructure and hardware and infrastructure and software, I looked at AWS and their platform as a service. This would allow for that distributed cloud so that it would allow redundancy and then more efficiency, especially with a bike system with the bikes being distributed throughout the community and through edge commuting. It would give them the most access with the different clouds, and you could probably have about 20 or so, however much data you want to put in those clouds. I also chose this because it allows you to scale it larger as it grows with popularity. And if you want to go to other cities, this type of system would allow you to expand it very rapidly and efficiently. For the software in our application, I looked at ERP through Oracle. It's cohesive and it also has AI and machine learning. It really makes the data that is being stored, it creates really predictable trends and allows you to react to your business very quickly. While it is more expensive, I think it's about $12,000 a year, and that'd be something that you would obviously need signed off on by your shareholders and your business partner. But the investment could really allow for the company to get a high return on visit because you're able to react to your business trends, especially being a newer business, and move quickly. You can also rewrite your business plan if something changes. A big change would have been like when COVID happened, that had a huge impact on that business. So, how do you change your business model? In a system like ERP Oracle would give you that access. It is also compatible with AWS as well. I made sure, some of the problems with cloud services is they're not all compatible, and those were two services that work well together. As far as data, what's nice about a lot of companies like Oracle and Salesforce is even though they're a cloud service that technically is a non-relational data system, the companies themselves use relational data systems. That way, specific data like customer, like to make purchases and you pulling the customer's user information is more accessible and it's easier and faster to pull. As part of data too and non-relational, I did include some of the geospatial maps that they use in Kansas City to look at how often and when the busy peak times are that the bikes are being used. Why this is beneficial is when you think about a place like Kansas City and the weather, and there's certain time frames that there might not be as popular. These are optimal times to, pull the bikes off and do maintenance on them, as well as charging. You could also, just for saving like the life preservance of the bikes, not have as many out during time frames that they're not used as heavily. And then during busy peak seasons, it really tells you where you would want to saturate the market with the bikes. That way you do get a higher profit from them. The system that I chose as well allows for on the client side to keep it thin and easy to manage mobily. Same with the end user. It's all done on a very thin client where, when we're using the cloud, the actual cloud servers are very thick services and have a lot of storage and servers in both cloud storage and relational databases or physical servers. The billing schema is our part of our Python application within our SSA, our Salesforce. I'm sorry, guys, I'm a little bit on the sick side. But as you can see, it's part of it is when it's on the if loop with the based off of time. So whenever every 30 minutes or so, it would be when the time would add and would get to the total price. Of course, you have a lot on the other side if they're a user, if they want to register. So there's a lot of different avenues that you would write into the code for this for different options, like if then that would be what would happen. Next, looking at security with a distributed cloud and cloud services, there are additional security risks, but starting with the infrastructure of your security management system is you'd want to look at the rules and what needs to be secured and managed. So we have the physical security. The bikes are obviously worth a lot of money. Some of the security systems I've seen in them is they have internal security systems that make them shake really hard so they're not really drivable, which would be one way to protect those. And then we, of course, have our sharing station that would also need to have security measures put into it and be managed. A lot of those are part of an asset protection management or more of the physical security that works more with your data side. Then on the data security, you have a lot of data being transferred on an API. So we would obviously want to have VPNs, probably two-factor, and then as well as a virtual private cloud, maybe not initially, but as the company grew larger and had more income and revenue, they would probably want to amp up on the layers of security that they're using, as well as just for the traffic flow. Virtual private cloud, you wouldn't be seeing as much increase in traffic and need to be as redundancy thick as what you would need if you had a private cloud. And so your own business could see increases in traffic. There's lots of times websites have got shut down just because of massive events that they do that drives that traffic. So the redundancy is important once your business does get larger as well. Policies, and then looking at the insurance as well. On a bike system with the public riding them, you would definitely want to ensure that part of the security is the asset and being protected from lawsuits on that end as well. Legalities as well, again, going back to your insurances, and then different other security measures you want to take is ensuring that there's penetration tests, that they are trying to penetrate that consistently. There's a crisis plan, there's a recovery plan that's being tested often, and then of course training around the different security measures that needs to be taken in place. And then the last, is the major tasks, and just covering each of them. One is planning, coordination, and implementation, ensuring that all steps have been signed off of your shareholders and your business partners. And the next is ensuring your training manuals are completed, your site survey has been looked at, and all of your paperwork is completed there. And then you want to ensure all your materials are available, your bikes, the hardware, software, and then scheduling the computer processing and programming activity, ensuring that all of that process is mapped out. And a lot of these, like security systems and test data conversion, a lot of these actions will be happening parallel to each other. And then like the test data conversion, testing, and then fixing as we go. And then the last step would be the site facilities prepped for execution, ensuring everything is ready to go last minute before the actual installment and launch of the product. I did show a picture of the last of the docking station. I like more the free bikes around. I do know that there is lots of policies around rules and regulations around the bikes throughout the city and where you can and can't ride them. One of the main filters I used throughout my project is the most common feedback from the locals about why they aren't using the bikes is around safety. So when I look at the applications and the different systems and why you might want to invest in more data and more smart data, and it might be more expensive and a lot of storage needed for that data. But why it is important is because you want people to have access to see, which is the safest routes, where there's not traffic, where you can and can't go, because there's a lot of uncertainty, especially if you're not from that area. I think you're seeing a rise and increase, but if safety is the issue, you want to be able to impact that. And that is my bike sharing system.